Throughout last week, news about Saudi journalist and monarchy critic Jamal Khashoggi took a new turn as Turkey accused the Saudi government of killing him after he stepped into the Saudi consulate the week before to regularize some papers concerning his marriage to his Turkish fiancée. Khashoggi has not been seen for almost 2 weeks now, and that's threatening relations between Saudi Arabia and Turkey, and Saudi Arabia and the United States.
In less than 2 weeks, the world has learned about a journalist known as Jamal Khashoggi, not for awards or accolades, but for his alleged murder by Saudi authorities because of criticism to the Saudi monarch, especially the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and King Salman. Khashoggi, as editor for Saudi paper Al Watan, which he turned into a platform for Saudi progressives, talked about how the government was being repressive and unbearable, and how the Crown Prince wants to crush extremists but is punishing the wrong people, and how he's acting like Putin, who controls the kingdom's media. He fled Saudi Arabia in September of 2017 after the government banned him from Twitter. He ended up in Washington, from where he wrote newspaper articles criticizing the Saudi government. But after Tuesday, October 2nd, neither Khashoggi nor his column appeared. His fiancée raised alarm after he went into the Saudi embassy in Turkey and did not come out. The Turkish authorities immediately accused Saudi Arabia of masterminding his disappearance, and the Saudi government denied. By Wednesday, October 3rd, both sides gave conflicting accounts of Khashoggi's whereabouts. Turkish presidential spokesman Ibrahim Kalin said Khashoggi was still in the consulate and the government was monitoring the situation.
Nerede kayboldu?
But a Saudi official denied Khashoggi was in the consulate and confirmed Khashoggi did visit the consulate to request paperwork related to his marital status and exited shortly after. Officials even opened up the mission on Saturday, October 6th in an effort to show that the prominent writer was not on the premises and the talk of kidnapping was baseless. Journalists toured the 6-story consulate in northern Istanbul, including a basement, prayer room, offices, visa counters, kitchens and toilets, as well as storage and security rooms. And as the hours turned to days, a small group of journalists and activists protested outside the Saudi consulate to denounce Khashoggi's disappearance.
And we would like to know exactly what happened and bring those involved to justice. We need the names of the people who were involved in his disappearance, the 15 Saudi nationals who came here to Turkey to kidnap him or to kill him. We need to know exactly who are they and bring them to justice.
They kidnapped him and now there is news that he's been killed. If this news is true, that is an awful crime that doesn't happen in all humanity history.
Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said Saudi officials must prove Khashoggi left the consulate. He later told news media he believed Khashoggi had been killed inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. By the end of the week, international calls for investigation into Jamal Khashoggi's disappearance came in from the most important corners: the UN, the EU, and finally the United States.
We call for cooperation between Turkey and Saudi Arabia to conduct a prompt, impartial and independent investigation into the circumstances of Mr. Khashoggi's disappearance and to make the findings public.
On this, let me subscribe 100% what Secretary Pompeo said just a few hours ago. We are fully aligned with the US position on this. We expect a thorough investigation and full transparency from the Saudi authorities on what has happened.
Well, I have to find out who did it, but people saw him go in, but they didn't see him come out, as they understand it, and we're going to take a very serious look at it. It's a terrible thing.
And while other world leaders, including from Canada and France, chimed in, raising concerns over the life of Jamal Khashoggi, Turkey released what it said was CCTV footage of what happened that day. Then the questions came down to what would happen to international relations and international trade.
Human rights, freedom of information are essential rights. And horrifying things have been reported, and I am horrified. But I have to conduct the business of the IMF in all corners of the world and with many governments. And when I visit a country, I always speak my mind. You know me, I do. So at this point in time, my intention is to not change my plan and to be very attentive to the information that is coming up in the next few days.
On the issue of selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, the previous government signed a contract with Saudi Arabia to sell armored vehicles to Saudi Arabia. We respected that contract, but at the same time brought in significantly new and strengthened measures around transparency, around accountability, in ensuring that on a go-forward basis, we are making sure that Canadians' expectations and laws are always being followed.
Leaving only a few dissenting voices, including British billionaire Richard Branson, among business leaders and media organizations distancing themselves from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia following Khashoggi's disappearance. Branson said he would also suspend his company's Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund over a planned $1 billion investment into space ventures. And while the U.S. has promised severe punishment for Saudi Arabia if it is found Khashoggi was indeed murdered, Saudi authorities reject political and economic threats over Jamal Khashoggi's disappearance. An unnamed source said the country would respond to any punitive action with a bigger one.
Here's a quick check on other discussions in diplomatic circles.
U.S. Republican Senator Marco Rubio says the U.S. must confront Saudi Arabia or risk losing credibility on human rights if allegations are proven true that the Saudi government orchestrated the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Khashoggi, who has been missing since he entered the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, on October 2nd, had been a columnist at the Washington Post, where he criticized the Saudi government, especially Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
I certainly think that if in fact the Saudis are responsible for this, and we're going to learn that. I truly believe we'll know the answer to that. It's not something that people would look at and be surprised by.
That's our time this week on the program. More editions of Diplomatic Channel can be watched on the Channels TV website or on youtube.com/channelsweb. I look forward to reading from you on Twitter at Amarachi_Ubani, at Diplomatic Chan, and at Channels TV. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.